We're not through yet.
7 days a week.
You'll be amazed at what my Auric XL, even at 8.5 pounds, picked up. Call now.
Call us now.
Call us now. Call now, and I'll also send you my Auric compact vacuum absolutely free.
Have your credit card ready.
Hey, hello. Hey, can you hear me? Hey, can you hear me? Hello? Hey.
Welcome to Emerging Tech Mastery, a show that demystifies cutting-edge technology like cryptocurrency, the blockchain, metaverse, NFTs, virtual reality, the maker movement, artificial intelligence, machine learning, cloud, edge, and even fog computing. Strap in as we ride into the fourth industrial revolution. Emerging Tech Mastery provides actionable knowledge, regardless of skill level, from experts in the trenches. We piece together this intel in easy-to-consume media formats, processes, and procedures. See you in the future.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on another episode of Emerging Tech Mastery. On this episode, another solo episode, we're going to be talking about my reasons why the Raspberry Pi rocks. The first reason is it's small. Think about how much space a desktop took up or takes up, even a big laptop. You know, that's a good bit of desk space. If you do the desktop, that's like what, like a couple feet by a foot or so, basically like a little box that will take up a bunch of space. So to have some pretty powerful tech on the Raspberry Pi, I mean, there's 3, there's the 4, and to have what you have pretty much with the size that you have is pretty incredible. Now, this will actually tie in pretty nicely to the next one, which might seem like the same, but it's not quite, which is portable. Again, it's in this nice little square, and to me, it's like, you know, think about where you could put that thing, right? There's people that have them control their 3D printers. There's people that do gathering data, maybe in a greenhouse or outside, or as a part of, you know, it's kind of like you can sneak it in, right? It's this tiny little, like 2 inches by 3 inches or however much it is. I don't know the exact measurements off the top of my head. So that portability for like a computer, I mean, these are considered single board computers, is quite incredible, frankly. So that portability is a surprisingly useful feature when you do more interesting things with it. And again, we can get into future discussions about that. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of interested to look into that myself. The next thing would be its plug and play. Now, there is a step where you have to take a SD card and you have to basically like a SD mini or whatever, SD micro SD. So basically you have to flash the SD card, they call it, which is a fancy way of saying install an operating system on it. And there's a very handy dandy dongle. Say that 5 times. Dongle. Have you seen my dongle? Hey, that's what they call it, okay? I lost my dongle the other day, but I found it. So you put the micro SD card in the dongle. It's a USB conversion unit, to put it more simply, for those of you who don't know what I mean by dongle and think I'm making some funny word up. You flash the card via this dongle. So you put your USB thing in the computer, you have to flash it. Other than that, so I just wanted to go into that step so you understand you do have to have that SD card flashed first. Other than that step, it pretty much is ready to go. I mean, you put the SD card in the Raspberry Pi, you turn it on, it starts installing. Now, you still have to be engaged and do a few things, set your username, all that. But I would say that's pretty plug and play, maybe even faster than a computer in some ways because the installation's not so insanely long. Off you go, in maybe not a couple minutes, but, definitely 5, 10, 20, maybe 30. So you're ready to rock, right? I would say that's a pretty good feature. The next reason why the Pi rocks, it's so powerful. Now, I don't have all the specs in front of me, and certainly older versions, have like less firepower, but I think I was just playing with my Raspberry Pi 3. We're on a 4 right now, and I was still thinking, geez, this thing, I bought it years and years ago, is still pretty good. And I actually was playing with doing all this, recording, running Audacity, recording. It's freaking working, man. And I'm having great success with Raspberry Pi OS, more so than Ubuntu, with doing all this. I'm always scared as I say that as I'm recording on it, because I'm just like, oh boy, one day that's going to be part of the content, I guess. But anyway, super powerful, super just awesome with that from that perspective. For the value you're getting, I know they're a little more expensive nowadays. So the next reason would be they are multi-purpose. Now, I mentioned someone controlling the 3D printers. You could run a server off of it. You could run pretty much anything you can think of when it comes to computers and running your own infrastructure. Basically, you could have a little media center, XBMC, like sort of like your own Netflix, and it'll create that from all your files and such. So, I mean, you're getting like 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, maybe even 1,000 uses out of this little single board. Absolutely incredible. So sky's the limit. I think that's my favorite part about this, and why I will be giving this a little bit of coverage here on the site at ETM is like, this has really been somewhat of a game changer for me as far as like getting me to learn Linux and getting me to try new things. And it's pretty like low stakes, It starts off kind of like a project in an evening. You're having a good time with it. But then now I'm kind of getting to a point where I'm like, I'm pretty comfortable with it. I'm actually going to use it more for regular purposes. So that's becoming doing the show, the podcast. And I want to keep playing with that, including maybe making it mobile. So that'd be cool for the portability I mentioned earlier. If I can accomplish that, that will be a good old time. It might take some effort. It's a little, over the top, right? At a certain point, it's like, just buy a mic or just buy a handheld mic and proper camera or boom mic. You know what I mean? But I do want to push the limits here a bit, and maybe it's a little bit insane and masochistic, but too bad for me, I guess. The Steve-O of tech. There you go. That's a new tagline. We're always, me and my friend are always coming up with funny taglines like this person of tech or the XYZ of tech. So anyway, you may hear me say that in other discussions. I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, my next reason I love Raspberry Pi. It's easy. Now, it doesn't mean there's no learning curve. It doesn't mean you don't have to do anything. It does mean, though, that just about anyone can learn it. I've seen Network Chuck, shout out to him, one of my favorite people that has been a huge sort of influence, frankly, from his YouTube videos, helping getting me into the Raspberry Pi and getting confident about it. And I've followed several of his tutorials, and I've been blown away that, holy crap, I put a darknet site up in like 30 minutes. Didn't do anything sketchy with it, of course. The darknet's just sort of the unexplored internet. It's kind of this weirder, stranger part of the internet that's kind of not the sort of controlled corporate internet, right? But just the fact I could do that so quickly in a sitting was just nuts. But Network Chuck talks about his kids. Like, he has his kids use it, and it's basically like a little computer for them, right? So instead of getting them like a really expensive laptop or desktop, he gets them the Pi. I think that's brilliant. It also is a great way for them to learn Linux. Again, that's going to be an episode of how I learned Linux, basically, not only thanks to the Pi, but from using it, right? So it's a great way to learn Linux in a fun way. It's pretty intuitive. I mean, using Windows, like, everything kind of looks, it's different, right? But it's the same. Like, you're interacting with a computer through a screen and icons and clicking around, and yeah, it's a new environment, but you'll be fine. It is awesome. And maybe your kids would be interested, or someone else who doesn't think they're a tech person, right? I think it's a lot of often sort of men or tech bros, right? But I think I kind of want to open this up to like anyone. So you fill in what that is. And I hope there are more diverse sort of crowds of people that would want to get into this. Children, women, everyone in between, right? All that. Animals. I'm happy to see some cats using a Raspberry Pi. That'd be a fun time. Okay, next one, reasons why Pi rocks. It's customizable. It is so interesting. All the different operating systems you can install. I mentioned that step earlier with the flash drive. You can put so many operating systems on it. There's specialty ones. There's ones just for the media center I mentioned. There's one for like, Retro Pi. It's literally just for turning the Pi into like an arcade, basically playing games. It's a whole operating system dedicated to that. So I just love how people have shaped this based on what they want to do with it, and including creating unique operating systems for that purpose. That to me is just, you really have to just soak that in a little bit. That is such an incredible community that's been at work, that's really just done a bunch of cool stuff and have just put in the time, right? So even though there's these newer tech coming out that you see videos on, well, guess what? There's a huge user and developer community around this. I'm loving Raspberry Pi OS. I had been playing with Ubuntu a bunch, and I'm like, whoa, man, I kind of missed out by not getting on Raspberry Pi OS so quickly. So I am kind of giving a little bit of a plug there just because, hey, man, you guys are helping me make the podcast work, which is awesome. So, okay, customizable. Wow, you can do anything. Not kidding. Within, of course, the parameters that the Raspberry Pi is, but, there's so much I don't know here. So, you can make a camera. Oh my God, I got to do that. So how fun would that be? So I record a little bit of video of this with my phone, which seems a little silly, but I could actually hook up a high quality, they call it like a high quality camera module. They have a regular camera module too, but I would love to do the high quality camera. You can put some nicer lenses on it. Like, what? That's wild. So, and seems like people are taking pretty good pictures. So, oh my gosh. So anyway, this thing in my mind is designed for being a media center podcast, just superstar. Again, I want to put most of the emphasis on the tech, not as much of this as humans, but it's going to be a good old time. Last bit, which might already tie in a little bit with powerful, but it's robust. This thing is a single board, really well made. They give you heat sinks, which are these kind of little metal things that you sort of glue on top of the chips to kind of help the heat dissipate. I actually, as you may have seen on my reel on Instagram, I pretty much just took the cover off because I realized, first off, I don't know how much doing this program takes or whatever, but I do kind of want to push on recording and editing more. And if I can do that on this and it not get too upset, that's super neat. I do feel the need to upload regularly to the cloud because I am concerned about, hey, if it does fail and you had files on there, like I had a SD card that just failed on this same thing. So it's kind of a funny thing that I'm sitting here making a new SD card and here we go all over again, right? But again, that old SD card, I do maybe have some data on there. Again, it's all good. If not, geez, you just gotta keep it moving, right? But I definitely think, this could be another episode on critiques and all that. That should definitely be a thing. But I think understanding just physically how powerful this thing is, right? So I don't feel like I can hurt it too bad as long as, nothing crazy like falls on it. But man, it really seems pretty hard to break this thing. But okay, we are at our 15 minutes or over even. Not a problem. But, I like to keep it at 15 for these. Super awesome. Had a really great time going through that. If I feel like there's a lot more things that should go into this, I'll definitely add that to the blog post around this. And maybe I'll make that more of the updatable edition side of it rather than having to re-record this. So I think that's super fair. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the metaverse. metaversi, plural for metaverses.